Okay.
Well,
Welcome to Finance Committee,
Friday, March 17th.
9 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Perfect.
All right, so today on the agenda, we have the audit request for proposal results, the solar analysis, and the Bring Your Own Device Chromebook program. So we're just gonna jump right in. So the audit request for proposal, I had sent back at the end of January. I sent a request for proposal to 6 area CPA firms who specialize in fund accounting and school audits to give them the opportunity to become the district's next financial auditor for the next 3 years. So of the 6, I had 3 firms reach out with questions. Clifton, Larson, Allen ultimately decided not to send a response because they didn't feel they were able to match our pricing of our current auditors. But we did receive 2 formal bid responses from Hawkins Ash as well as our current auditors, Riley, Penner, and Benton. So the criteria linked to the agenda is the same criteria that was provided in the request for proposal. And Ron and I reviewed the 2 responding firms' proposals, and you can see the results of the review on the rating sheet that's linked in. So ultimately, both firms are perfectly capable of conducting the audit. However, Riley Penner Benton, our current auditor, was priced significantly more reasonably, I would say. The pricing factor combined with Riley Penner and Benton's experience auditing the district were the main factors of deciding to award the audit contract to them. So if you look at the rating sheet, you can see on the bottom part where it says annual audit, Hawkins Ash came in at $25,000 per year, Riley Penner and Benton was $12,850. And then the single audit, which Merton typically does not qualify, you hit a single audit threshold if you receive more than $750,000 in federal funds, which is your grant. So last year we hit that because we had the free lunch, so we had all the money from food service, we had the ESSER grants. Our flow-through grant was higher last year because that was part of that ESSER program as well. So we did hit it last year, which that single audit went fine. However, do I ever anticipate Merton hitting it again? I don't think so. So you can see in the pricing that the single audit, Riley Penner and Benton itemizes that. So they have $5,000 there. So really, for our total potential cost, you know, for Hawkins Ash, I've got $29,200 because that includes the annual audit plus the membership audit. So our total cost for Riley Penner would be $12,850 plus $3,000 for the membership audit. So it's a significant savings to the district. I really enjoy working with our current auditors. I have no qualms about continuing our partnership with them. So that will be my recommendation. That's going to be a formal agenda item in the board packet as well to approve that for the next 3 fiscal years. Questions on the audit?
No, I just want to say thank you. I know it was extra work to go out to more firms, and that I was the one that had recommended that back in January. Appreciate you doing that, and good to see that, you know, we've got some fair pricing for the district and ultimately the taxpayers.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's no problem. I thought that was a great suggestion to go to more than the DPI recommended. So I'm glad we did that, and we'll keep that as a practice going forward as well.
Thank you.
Solar analysis. Okay, you guys, buckle down. There is a lot of information in this file that I've shared with you, and I got it to you much later than I would typically prefer to, so for that I do apologize. I'm gonna preface this part of the meeting by saying that I'm really still working closely with our solar company to gather some of the pertinent information, and I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. So a little history, our solar panels were installed, they've been here since November or December of 2019. One of the two. So that was a little before my time. I wasn't here for that initial conversation, but I do think the panels were a good idea. So how they work is the energy they produce is either consumed by the district or sold back to the grid. So for the solar cell back, we receive a credit from We Energies on the cogeneration meter, which is listed on the invoice. The first tab in the analysis shows what's sold back each month. So for the primary building, I've got $3,500, and at the intermediate, by my calculation, $24,000. So that was like red flag number one, like, okay, clearly those are two very different amounts. The panels are on the roofs of each building, and I think it's about an equal amount on each roof.
Yeah.
So I feel like, okay, that's, something's not right there. So that was question number one. And then the next section of the spreadsheet, I have a tab for primary and a tab for intermediate showing the production and revenue for each building. So these graphs are taken directly from the Solar Edge monitoring platform. And as you can see, the graphs for each building are very different when you look at them in comparison to each other, both in terms of production and in terms of consumption. So that was question number two, is are the panels reading properly? Are they sending that information back to We Energies properly? Like, there's, to me, just kind of a disconnect because especially at, I believe it's the intermediate, that it's like way crazy high. We're producing so much, and then I'm still getting bills from We Energies for like $4,500 a month. So I'm like, if I'm producing this much, why am I only consuming, you know, a much smaller section of that? So that is question number two. The cost of debt tab is just a visualization of the loan payments over time versus the value of solar. The value of solar was taken from the pro forma from the original proposal, and that's linked into the agenda as well. Because I wanted to see, like, I wanted everyone to see what we were kind of proposed back in 2019, how this was gonna work. So that's question number three, is I'm verifying, is that genuinely my value of solar? Am I really getting a value of $51,000 per year? So, to be determined on that. The We Energies tab is just there. That I really kind of made that tab for myself because I was going back and forth so much between kilowatt hours and invoice amounts and what date was that. So that's really just a history of our invoices during the time since the panels have been installed. So then the last two tabs are breakdown tabs. So the breakdown for each building shows the value of consumption and the value of the system production. So this is question number four, and probably the main part that I'm working on verifying the accuracy of, because according to the monitoring platform, our year-to-date revenue is almost $87,000 at the intermediate building. But when I do the math, not year-to-date, life-to-date, sorry, that's a misquote by me. So the life-to-date revenue is about $87,000, but when I actually like physically did the math behind you know, what was being produced and what that value was gonna be, I come up with like $48,000, so it's a huge difference. And then same thing with the primary, but that's a smaller difference. The system generated is $42,000, my math shows $36,000, so that's a discrepancy I can live with. The other one I need to dig, I'm not just gonna live with that. So there's still a lot to unpack here, and I have been working with We Energies, and I've been working with the Sunvest people, and I've kind of been hitting roadblocks with We Energies more so than Sunvest. Sunvest and I had a meeting via Zoom, and she agreed with me that something's not 100%. It doesn't sound right, like especially with the intermediate building, just all those big discrepancies. So she's gonna dig into it. I was expecting an email by 9 a.m. yesterday, but that didn't come through, so that's okay. I'm
From Sunvest?
from Sunvest.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that this is probably not their number one priority. So once I get that email, we're probably gonna have to do part 2 of solar analysis when I get some answers. So the bottom line here is, I think that the panels are working. We know that the panels are working, but the genuine question is, in what capacity? Because what I really wanted, because I don't speak kilowatt hour, like this was such a confusing analysis, because it's like I'm digging in, and when you don't even understand what you're trying to analyze, it's confusing. So looking at all this, it's like, okay, this is what we were promised. Is that what we're being given now? So that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what I really wish I had is, this is what your bill would have been without solar. This is what your bill is having the solar. This is the difference, there's your value. It is so not that easy. I wish it were, but it's not. So I have information, but I still kind of don't.
Well, and it's determining which set of meters is actually reading correctly and giving, whether it's We Energies reading our solar equipment wrong, or our equipment's.
And there's so many moving
We
pieces
Energy
here.
is never easy with that.
No, and they're not really motivated to help me, cause they're like, well, you keep paying your bill, so
Yeah, yeah.
that's all we care about, and I can't not pay our bills, like, that's not how this works, so, I mean, best case scenario is I get some sort of credit back. Other best case scenario is, yes, the panels are working properly, and it's the monitoring platform
Mhm.
that's not reading everything, so that it's like giving me, I don't wanna say false information, but skewed, perhaps, so.
Do you have a direct contact at We Energies
No,
for this,
no.
or you just have
And
to
no one will give
call?
me one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you call and then you get customer service, and then you say business department, and then you say, I just need someone who understands solar panels. Well, we don't have anyone on staff, and it's like, really, because,
Okay.
come on, guys. So, I don't wanna, I'm not gonna go all day on that.
You can come through.
But, you can, yeah, you're fine, you can come through. So that's kind of the start of this project. I apologize for not having more answers, but I think when I reconnect with Sunvest again, I'm hoping to have a slightly better understanding. Andrew,
Thank you for all that.
you're welcome.
Is Jordan involved in any of these conversations and, you know, looking at this as far as, is the equipment working, are they connected, like, I'm just wondering if, like, are we not connected on the roof and that's why it's not maybe,
Well, we Jordan, myself, and April has access to it too, but we all have, there's like an interface that April looks at, but Jordan and I have an app on our phones that we can look at as well, just to make sure that all the panels are functioning and everything, and it actually will show you, down to the panel level, if a panel is underperforming or just not working at all. I mean, it's actually like color coded so you can see the difference. And yeah, I mean, I think it was last year, Ron, early this year, last year, there was some issues with it, but it wasn't that large of an impact on our production or usage at all of what we, generated. So I mean, and I even looked a couple days ago and everything, all the panels seem to be working normal.
okay.
I should say, normal for winter time.
Yeah, and that's a fair,
Yeah.
that's a fair
Yeah.
assessment. So that's part of why my suspicion after like doing this deep dive is that I kind of hope she comes back to me and says, yeah, it's an issue with the way that the monitoring platform is interpreting the dollars. Because to have the lifetime revenue of 86,000 and I'm calculating 48, if my calculation is correct, that means now I have to really tackle We Energies really hard, which I will do. We'll just see how much time it takes, so.
Okay, we'll keep digging.
Yep.
Get to the answer.
Okay, so we'll follow back up on that. We'll have finance committee next month, cause that'll be our quarterly financial update, so hopefully I will come back then. Okay, and then our third topic is the Bring Your Own Device Chromebook program. So the district is looking to switch the Chromebook program from having the option of students bringing their own device or being supplied a device by the district. So Mr. Binney did a great job laying this out in the attached Google Doc. I will let him explain more.
Yeah, so part of what as you saw in the document, part of what I look at every year is kind of different kind of trends that I'm seeing in the classroom. Things I'm hearing from teachers, hearing from the principal, just about how technology is used in the classroom. More and more over the last couple of years, I've been hearing it's more of the students with personal devices have more distractions in the classroom. And that's simply because it's their own device, they're allowed to put whatever they want on it at home, they bring it in, and while we do have filtering here, sometimes that stuff is already on there, may not touch the internet, and so it's causing distractions in the classroom. There's that kind of side of it. There's the side from the teachers I've been hearing about is just being able to have consistency in the classroom as far as instruction, being able to teach the kids how to do something one way, but then having to, okay, you have this device, you gotta do it this way, you have to do it this way. So the teacher side has been a little bit, Chromebooks are great, and the teachers, that's where their knowledge rests, but when you start mixing in the other things, it adds to and I would never expect them to understand every device. And that's part of where it comes from. That's part of it. The other side I've been seeing more and more recently is, when I say recently, within the last year or so, is the need for more or less hardware support for those personal devices. And what I mean by that is kids coming down, hey, my personal device is broken, I need a spare. Well, that is not part of what we do. We don't have enough spares to provide to every student, including BYOD. Part of the agreement when you go BYOD is that if you have something broken, we can't fix it, which I've been asked a lot. And we don't provide a spare because you didn't buy one from us, we're not repairing it, we're not sending it out for repair. I do my best to give spares where it's needed. However, my concern is we're starting to have students losing instruction time. If we were to switch this, I could guarantee every kid would have a device regardless if it's broken or not. And the way Ron and I and April and the admin team had talked about it, doing it starting at 5th grade only this next year, and then just year by year moving it up. With the rotation schedule in the primary building, when these are at their almost expiration date, we can take the ones from here, use them as spares there, and then once the kids that have them at the intermediate building, we can use those as spares as well. So that kind of leads into the other part of this, is doing this will actually make it less expensive on families. What we're looking at is doing a $40 technology fee, which is very similar to other districts in the area that do a technology fee at the intermediate level. I've always tried to keep Chromebook prices right around that $200 level recently, other than the pandemic years, which were a little bit more pricey. Doing this, what we're proposing is the idea of doing $40 over 4 years. So it would cost families $160. They have the option to buy into the accidental warranty like we have right now, or they would just be responsible for paying for the parts to fix the device. So they would pay for it for 4 years. Obviously there's a $40 discrepancy in there between what they pay and then what the total cost is. The Chromebooks would come back to us after that 4th year, and then we would use them that 5th year, the last year of use, as spares to support that one-to-one across 5 through 8, as well as summer school and anything else we need in the meantime. So that's kind of brief overview of what we're looking at. I guess easiest thing, is there any questions off the top of your head? It might be the easiest.
The other piece we would give them is a case.
Yes.
Yep, they get a case.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
the major parts of the program that we have now, if people want to buy a Chromebook from us, they stay. You get a case, we cover the cost of the management side of it. The warranty is still optional.
And the other difference would be is right now, if you do purchase the device from us, it is yours and you can take it
Yes.
home
Yep.
over the summer. Obviously, the $40 fee would cover, the students would take them home over the weekend, take them home with each other, or,
Yep.
you know, day to day, but in the summer, we would then collect them. So, again, like Jim highlighted, is we would be looking at phasing this in because our current 5th graders, 6th and 7th graders already had the opportunity to do that
Yep.
as well. And the other piece, Jim, I don't know if you mentioned state assessments and some of the
Yes.
iReady stuff too.
Yeah, and that's, and yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So like current situation with forward testing starting next week is because overall at the intermediate, we're looking at about 20 to 30% of the kids that are BYOD. When it comes to state testing time, we have to account for that 20 to 30% of kids that need to take that test. So what happens is we have to borrow from grade levels over here. And based on the grade levels that we have, 5K through first grade have the new tablet style Chromebook devices, so we aren't gonna take those and bring those over. Those, transporting them and handling them, walking around with them a lot, it's more chance for breakage. And 4 doesn't recommend using a tablet style device anyway. So we look at this building and we legitimately have one grade that we can take from. So over the next week and then the 2 weeks after spring break, there are gonna be at any one time 1 to 2 classrooms for multiple days in second grade that aren't gonna have any device because we have to borrow from them. So that, it affects them. And I would really like to get away from that.
Second grade is aware, we've done
Yes.
this before in the past,
Yeah.
we've communicated with them.
And they
things like
come
that
up
too,
with a
so.
plan and how it's gonna work,
Yeah.
but it's something I hate asking for.
How many third or fourth grade students have their own device?
None. We all provide for third and fourth.
Okay.
Second, third, and fourth.
Second, third,
Second,
fourth,
third, and
yes.
fourth, we give them and they don't take them home with each
No,
other. No,
they
they
stay
stay
here.
at school.
Yep, second grade and all the way up is 1-to-1. We only we provide second through fourth, and then 4K through first grade, it's one device for every 2 kids.
And fourth grade does not take home?
No. There was a leadership program Miss Stein did, where she allowed kids to take them home for a period of time. But I'm not aware that that was an all the time thing.
Now, if
So
a
they
family.
don't take home for homework or anything?
No.
That really doesn't happen until intermediate?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, if a family needed it, if there wasn't
We
a
would
device
work
at
something
home, we
out.
work something out and say,
Yeah.
sure, go ahead, take it.
Absolutely.
If it's something that they weren't gonna have access and they needed something, we
Yep.
certainly would. But at fifth grade is when we kind of turn it over and say, it's yours,
Okay.
it's
Yep.
yours. And what we're asking for is instead of allowing the option for a child to bring their own either from home or go purchase one from whatever vendor they choose, is to pay a $40 fee. They show up on day one, they have one, and that is theirs for the year. Jim, when we come back, say they come back as a sixth grader, would they get that same device then, correct? That
Yes.
device would be assigned to them,
Yes.
so,
Well, and we can, we can talk about that, that in between grade levels. Some of the districts I have talked to about this, some of them, hey, this is your device from fifth grade to eighth grade. You can keep it over the summer, but you still hold the responsibility for that device and the cost of it and everything else. So that's something I'm more than willing to, because that's current practice.
Well, right, so I'm not
Yep.
sold on the last day of school turning
Yeah,
in.
no, I'm not either. It's an option. It's something that's out there.
that's been our past practice, I think. If they lease it, do they allow to take it home at?
Ever since the pandemic,
Oh, okay.
we've kind of
since the
strayed away
pandemic.
from
Okay,
that.
got it.
Just because, initial practice when that program was put in place, it was anybody that leased, you turned them in. With this, whether,
They're leasing to own.
they're,
No,
No,
they
because
wouldn't
they're
own.
turning it
because
in.
they're
Right now,
turning
they
it
lease to own.
Eighth grade.
Oh,
yes,
right.
they're turning it in after eighth grade.
Okay.
So, but in that fifth to eighth grade time, they're responsible for the care of that device. So if they have a warranty or not, if something breaks on it, when we collect it in eighth grade, it's gonna be, okay, we have a problem with this. This is how much it's gonna cost to fix it if they didn't have a warranty. Which is, right now, if they break something in sixth grade and they don't have the warranty, they're paying for it anyway. So
Yeah, that-
there's no real change there, other than we're collecting it after that eighth grade year.
Okay.
Yep. So there technically is no lease to own program anymore. We're truly leasing it to them for 4 years and then we take it back.
Okay.
Yep.
But this is a common practice in other,
Yes.
like I know Heartland does this.
Heartland does
Here.
this, Hamilton does this.
Mhm.
I know Germantown's looking at moving to this.
Okay. And just like you said, from a control standpoint of.
A control
what they're seeing
standpoint,
And time off the teachers' plates
yes.
too.
And it'll also allow us to do more things with classroom management of the devices. The teachers being able to see what all the kids are doing. Right now, the tools are out there, but we've stayed away from doing them because, well, you know, as a teacher, I can watch 15 of the kids, but the other ones I can't watch.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's slippery slope, so we've
Monitor.
avoided, monitoring, yep, yep.
I guess my only concern would,
Yeah.
my biggest concern would be summer,
Yep.
cause they can still go onto their family or whatever platform they're using, right, for math games or
And like I
to
said,
stay current with that. And also, as they're in the older grades, they have NJHS students on it, they're logging hours,
Yep.
they're still communicating for
And like I
different
said,
events there,
that,
so.
I'm totally fine with that. The way the program was written, when it was initially put in, was the leases were collect, the purchases were, you know,
Sure.
what.
And
So,
maybe there's a waiver
going-
and you're giving them the option, if you want the responsibility
And
for it for
yes.
summer, then.
and we still actually do that. There's always a certain number of kids, even though their families buy them, they're like, I don't want it over the summer, something's gonna happen to it, and they turn it in.
Sure,
We can still do that. I'm fine with letting them have them over the summer. Usually, 10 years I've been here, when summer comes to an end and they start bringing them back, out of all the kids, I maybe have 4 or 5 that are like, this thing's destroyed. And you know, I send them in, get them repaired, and they're fine. So, I mean, my worries about repairs on them is relatively low. It is relatively low. You know, my only concern, which it actually happened this week, would be I lost it. And then that's a situation of, well, I understand that the accidental warranty doesn't cover that, doesn't cover loss. So we would have to figure out, you know, what that part would look like. If you purely just lost it, you know, current practice would be, well, you're responsible for the cost of the device. And, you know, is that still the route we're gonna take with that? Because that could open up a whole can of worms too.
So what's the replacement cost? 'Cause
Yep,
it-
replacement
it would
cost.
be a replacement cost.
Yep, yep, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Do we have a lot of lost devices?
No,
Okay.
Again, over the COVID years, there were a lot more.
Sure.
Simply because people were doing their virtual from this place or that place, but normally, no, maybe a couple a year at the most,
Okay.
at the most. But that usually resolves around vacation times. And then,
Because
oh,
they take it to
actually,
Florida.
we found it, the hotel has it, they're sending it to us, yeah, I've heard that a few times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Boston found.
yep.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions for me, Andrew?
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah.
So would we be doing away with, the outright purchase, or would that still be an option?
It'd be something we could consider. Part of my thinking with this is, being able to support that district device for every student in every grade, once it's fully 5 through 8, having those spares on hand for breakages would be definitely beneficial to make sure every kid has a device. I guess I would say if there's a situation where the family was really wanting that device, you know, I guess we could consider that last, you know, $40-ish payment to buy it out. And I guess my other thinking with that is what we've heard a lot from some families in the past is, well, I'm not gonna need this device after I leave Merton anyway. Because when I get to Arrowhead, I want my own laptop or a MacBook or.
Well, the other thing is Arrowhead, there's been a lot of chatter with
Yes.
Arrowhead going to basically the same thing.
Which would make this
only-
useless.
Which would make
Yeah.
this Chromebook at Merton completely obsolete because
Exactly.
you would have to purchase from Arrowhead.
Yeah.
But another concern is a lot of parents aren't loving that either. Are you going to get the same pushback here? Your fees are much more reasonable
Sure.
and they are at the end of Arrowhead, I believe, if I'm understanding it correctly, you own the device.
Sure.
So they are essentially leaving with that device, so they don't need 2 Chromebooks.
Yeah, no.
I don't think
yeah.
the same community should be charging, making them buy 2 Chromebooks. I gotta sleep on this one, quite honestly.
Yeah,
No, I
that's-
totally
that's-
understand.
We don't have, we have time on this one, because this would be something when we go in April, May is when we set school fees.
Yeah.
May is when we set school
Okay.
fees, so this is, again, this is just an introductory. And I think, Andrew, is your question, do we allow people to purchase the device or the $40 technology fee? So that way, everyone's,
see what you're saying.
maybe that's your question, I think? Or I see that being a question.
So a couple of things. I understand and support the idea of streamlining and making it easier from a technology perspective and supporting kids in the district with, potential spares and having, a stock of inventory available. I support that. I support the idea of making it easier for the teachers to have, one common device and system to work with to have the functioning of the classroom be easier and more efficient. And I support the idea of, keeping our kids safe with, all the monitoring that we can do and whatnot. Totally support that. I would, the thing that when I read this over the weekend, or whenever we got it, sorry, I came to a couple of things, kind of what Nikki was saying, which was hey, I think we gotta have a conversation at the board level that, hey, we talked about this, because what I don't wanna do is make a decision, or have this discussion in finance committee, boil it up to the board and vote, and then everybody say, where did this come from?
Correct.
Because as much as we think people are watching the finance committee video during the week, they're not. So I think we need to communicate openly and honestly of hey, this is what we're doing, and maybe attach this document to the website or a different document explaining this if this isn't the one. But I think we need to telegraph this to folks that, hey, this is on our agenda, so that they can be made aware of it. So like Nikki said, have a little bit of time to digest this and think about it. And yes, my question was either if we're going to make a change here, I think we need to make a change that is best for the district from a technology perspective and what's best for the district from a teacher classroom perspective. And I think we just need to stick with that. Are there going to be one-off cases that something come up? Yes, but I think we need to have a strategy that is concise and we just do it. I think to the point of having people want to buy the Chromebook at the end, it's these computers are going to change so much, and what kids are using a computer for, and primary school, intermediate school, and high school, I think are being totally different in the types of assignments and different things. I may be wrong. I don't have kids in high school, but I got to imagine, it's a lot different. So I just think let's talk about it at the board meeting. Let's cascade this out to parents and, your weekly updates to parents, Ron, hey, this is on.
Right, I think we need to
Here's a
be
link to,
really
a
transparent.
document summarizing what we're thinking about. Let us know your thoughts. Because this will be a shift for people, whether we think it is or not. Some folks, this will be a shift for, and I think we just want to let them know that we're thinking about it and talking about it. Nothing's been decided. I think that's a key thing to say in your communication, Ron.
This isn't up for vote at the meeting, right?
No,
Okay.
No.
We have plenty of time.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
plenty
I
of
don't
time.
want it to be
No,
crazy.
this is a
jam.
May thing.
And
Yeah,
I
and-
can make that clear in the meeting,
Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah,
recapping
yeah.
finance committee, I can just say this is definitely just the start of the discussion, we've got time on
Perfect.
this.
Yeah, we have
We'll
time. I
more.
mean, even on my end with ordering, I actually just touched base with our vendor that last year that we went through, and they're saying couple weeks for as many as I want, which is different than the 6 months that it used to be. So
yeah.
we have time, we're good.
And has this been run through DPI and everything else, looked at by all the proper channels?
No,
The
'cause it-
proposal? Cause I know Arrowhead ran into some issues with that, and their wording and their fees.
Right, before we get too far down the road, that's why we wanted to, you know, kind of talk about this
Is this
before we
something we
went
wanna
through.
think about?
Because
Yeah.
again, this is kind of modeled after a couple other school districts
Sure.
as we
Yeah.
take a look at it. But I remember when we first did this in 2014, this was a good 2 to 3 meetings worth. And actually, we had at the time, you had to, in order to lease or sell items, you actually had to put it on your annual meeting. And then ultimately, somebody could have pushed it to a referendum. And actually, we did take a meeting vote that day too, back in 2014, because at the time, that's what was required to purchase things from the district.
Okay.
Obviously, things have changed since then.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be an impact to 100% of the kids, you know, and again, just to be clear, we are just looking at our incoming fifth graders. But obviously, there's a smaller fee too, as on the bottom there too, is there is a consideration of a $25 primary fee from second, third, and fourth grade, because we are giving the device too as well. But this would affect 100% of fifth graders, because if they wanted, if families were like, hey, we've always done this before, I was planning on purchasing you one, or you have a high schooler, like the Russ family gave an old Chromebook that when they went to a freshman, we then handed it down to the fifth grader as a BYOD.
Yeah.
So this will have a lasting impact, and it does affect 100% of the kids going into that too.
Okay, so just to be clear, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for next school year would be grandfathered in and
Yes.
with BYOD if that's what they have.
Yep,
Correct.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep, so this is why we are looking at one, but again, we would be setting the precedent moving forward and kind of setting a new direction for district technology use, and particularly at the intermediate school.
Yeah.
For sure,
Got it.
for sure. So yeah, we're not gonna take anything, so a fifth grader who has purchased one, or a sixth or seventh grader, they are just gonna roll forward, correct?
Yeah, okay.
And they would not be assessed that fee,
No, correct, yeah.
yeah, so it's just setting a new direction for the
And
BYOD.
we have the ability when parents are paying fees, that they're not gonna get hit with that, we'll be able to.
Yeah, working with Dawn on registration, we can set it by that specific grade level
Got it.
where it would be necessary.
Yep, and we do that with electives, so if a child takes art, you know, we can get that micro all the way down to the child from that standpoint.
So then let's say a current fifth grader had their Russ family hand-me-down, okay? And that breaks, so they're going into sixth grade, are we going to honor them with the $40 thing? If they're like, you know what, I don't wanna buy my own device, I wanna get one through school, or are we reverting back
Good question.
to
For-
you have to
For
purchase?
sixth grade, you would have to purchase. You would have to purchase or get your own BYOD, because it's like a new student coming into sixth, seventh, or eighth grade. They would be part of the old lease to own or the purchase program if they wanted to, if they
Now,
wanted to.
now with,
See, I disagree with
Well-
that.
Why?
Right, what's the rationale behind that?
Why would that be any different?
Right,
I mean, it's, cause you're basically saying to the fifth graders, hey, we're changing this and we're just gonna charge, instead of you buying one or outright from us or bringing your own device, we're just gonna charge you $40. Why
Right.
wouldn't we be able to do that for all the others?
right.
It's not a problem of getting the devices, it's not a problem of tagging the child for the fee. Well, what, I'm just advocating now, I'm playing devil's advocate here, like.
I am too.
That just seems like crazy.
That's like a slap on
It'd be
the
like-
wrist, like, no.
Well, but it just seems like we're saying we're doing this to streamline it, and we're making this case, which I agree on everything.
Mhm.
But then we're saying, yeah, but since your grandfather, you gotta go buy another one, you can't just, spend the $40, like a fifth grader's doing.
Right,
We're keeping the device when they get done with 8th grade, so instead of $160, they spent $120.
right.
I don't get that.
And you're keeping the device.
That seems like you're putting the screws to people versus we're trying to make this easier for everybody.
well, currently under the program that we have, if we have a new student come into the district and I mean, okay, they come into fifth grade, they're part of the current deal.
Yep.
In sixth grade, we've kept them as part of the current deal that we have. Now, what we have made adjustments on, if we get a new student coming in seventh grade or in eighth grade or halfway through the year, we always make exceptions. We will go, okay, we have a device available for you, we will prorate it for the amount of time that you have left here in the district. I see what you guys are saying about, you know, if this technology fee is in place and people just want to join up with that at a different time. Logistically, would that be a problem? It would, you know, in the first few years of it, it would be, do we have the supply to all of a sudden we have, you know, all the kids in seventh grade, hey, we just want one, it's gonna be easier for us. Okay, then it's gonna be knowing that and being able to supply that at the time. The other part of it is the understanding that we are gonna have a $200 device that potentially, you know, say they're in seventh grade, that the district is only gonna get $80 for.
Yeah, but you could.
But we're keeping them.
You could take, at the end of that $80, right, 2 years, so seventh grade or eighth grade, they pay their $80.
Mm-hmm.
What stops the district from taking that device at the end of that kid's eighth grade, handing it to someone that's coming from fourth grade into fifth grade, and charging them $40? It's not like we're chucking that thing in the garbage.
No, we're not.
Or replacing a third or fourth grade device.
Correct. Correct.
We're just giving it now to an incoming fifth grader that they can use.
The problem with that would be, we would be giving a device that already has wear and tear to a previous kid, which they are now responsible for the physical well-being of that device.
Do we not do that now?
No.
They get a brand new one.
Yep. In the primary level, we understand that it's handled by many kids, and unless a kid literally picks up a Chromebook and throws it against a wall, we do not charge for primary. At the intermediate level, even with the current lease people, when they turn them in, they always get the same device because I can't make Johnny responsible for what Annie did to that device. So you have that where you could, even if there was a warranty, even if we went through and repaired it ourselves, there's still wear and tear depending on the student over that course of time that they had it. So that would be the only iffy thing there.
I think for the one-offs that would happen for, that's almost like the cost of doing business. I don't see how you can treat a sixth, seventh, eighth grader different than an incoming fifth grader, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think we gotta think about this more, because I think, I guess, and maybe I'm naive because I don't know what a device from an eighth grader looks like versus a brand new device, but, or a 2-year-old device, but, I recognize what you're saying about the wear and tear. I recognize that. I don't think that is a hill that we can't get over, because it's,
I mean, just for
I think we're overcomplicating it by maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to sit down with you and look at what a brand new device looks like visually, and you show me what a 3-year-old device looks like and what a 7-year-old device looks like, so that I can get a better understanding. Because I guess I'm just looking at it as, and again, naively maybe, Jeff, it's a computer, and a fifth grader is going to use it for math and everything else, you know, that they're doing, and you know, it'll be fine as long as it's working and works for everybody. Yeah, it might have a couple scratches on it, but it's still working, and we own the device, and we knew it would scratch when we gave it to them, you know. But I get it. You're talking about hundreds of kids, so maybe you and I just need to sit down and
I mean,
meet them visually, because I'm a visual learner. So.
Yeah, and I mean, just for conversation's sake, you know, the option to the wear and tear argument would simply be, do we make the optional accidental warranty mandatory then? That's going to increase the fee, but we can guarantee for, you know, the 4 years that we have the device available to students, that no matter what happens to it, it's gonna get repaired. It's gonna get fixed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, other than, you know, the families having the additional amount for that warranty that they pay for. You know, then it wouldn't matter if I gave that Chromebook to someone else. It wouldn't matter, because we'd always be able to get it fixed.
And I guess the question would be then is, Andrew, I think the bigger picture that you're saying is, so anyone who is not currently in a district device in current 5th, 6th, or 7th grade, because those are the students that we were, if you are not in a BYOD, if you are in a BYOD situation, can you shift
Yeah.
to the district lease, or the district technology fee program?
Well, like, okay, so as an example, so let's say Natalie's she has her own device, not through the school, and we're sitting here in March, and Arrowhead passes, yep, you have to purchase a $300 Chromebook from us.
Sure.
So she's got, say, 2 months until she is going to get a computer from Arrowhead. I don't think it's fair, and I get we can do one-offs, but I think we need to have a streamlined process, because if you came to me and said, well, there's 2 months left of school, this device is broken, and we don't have a solution for you, so you need to go spend $200, but if she was an incoming 5th grader, it would be $40.
Yes. And I agree with you. I mean, we do that currently.
Yeah,
I actually just had a situation last week with a 5th grade student who's BYOD, and in science class they dumped salt water on it. Thing is dead, completely dead. Well, parents just reached out to me, hey, I don't want to have to go buy a new device right now, what do you have available? I had a spare, which is part of the reason to have all those spares on hand. I can give you this to get you through the rest of the school year.
and
You
do
guys
they
can
associate a
just,
fee with that?
just because it's 2 months, no.
Okay,
Let them use it. I have the parents understand, anything happens to it, there'll be a fee assessed for, you know, fixing it, whatever. So, you know, we currently do that, and, you know, in the end result, my goal is to make sure every kid has a device to learn.
absolutely.
You know, and that's what it is. So I'll work with them no matter what it is. And like this family, they're gonna decide over the summer whether they're gonna buy their own or come back through us and jump in the program. So we always try to work with families. I don't wanna make it difficult. If I have something I can do, I'm gonna do it.
And we love you for that.
And that's a new wrinkle with Arrowhead. I haven't heard that.
I've heard
not
that
the
once.
Arrowhead chatter there, but that is it
Well, because
could
it's
be a
only going to
variable.
affect incoming freshmen now.
Correct.
So it's like the same thing going forward. So I just think we need to be careful, and they've gotten a lot of pushback.
Yep,
So
Yep.
I just, again, Andrew and I playing devil's advocate, it's not that we're
No, no, no,
completely,
no, no,
I'll
no,
speak
no,
for myself,
no, no,
I'm
no.
not completely against it, I just wanna look at
Yeah,
all.
and I mean, part of this is too, is me looking at it and saying, you know, with this device, can a student in 5th grade, all the way through a student in 8th grade, do everything we need them to do?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, once they get out of here, you know, I can't guarantee you at Arrowhead that that's gonna be a realistic device for them. But, you know, that's something I always look at too, and, you know, specifically with Dave Wagner in his area, making sure that whatever we have is gonna work with them. So that, you know, that's something that's always in the back of my head. And knowing that we can have that consistency across everybody, and everybody's gonna get the same experience, and the teachers are gonna have an easier experience, that's a lot what is pushing this.
Sure,
That's
and I
the goal.
support all
Yep.
of that.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate for a reason, so that we're.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Unintended consequences of a decision, you know, and that's why I'm pushing to say, let's talk about this.
Yep.
You know, when our email communication with parents, we'll let them know, give them a link to the document. It's a well thought out plan, you know,
No, we get it.
oh yeah, I totally get it, totally get it.
I think we need to be streamlined and make things easier for our teachers and our staff to be able to work with kids and deliver the educational experience in the most efficient and best way possible.
Yep.
We get that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Everything else.
Yep,
And I think it needs to be very transparent, not buried in the finance committee agenda. I think it needs its own shout out
Sure.
so that people are, you know, they were given the opportunity to read the
Wait.
document, made
Then
aware.
here's, again, just looking for some feedback on how you would like to do this. The final decision doesn't need to be made probably until May. I mean, it can be later if we need to, but May is typically when we set our school fees for the following year, because then we can give families a heads up if anything is coming down their way from that standpoint. I can two thoughts. One is I can summarize this, and again, when Jim and I can summarize this and send an email to the board that states, please be ready to discuss this at the finance committee agenda item for, you know, so when we talk about this, that we would like to gather some feedback, so please carefully take a look at this, and then put it on a formal agenda item in April as a
Yes.
discussion, and then ultimately, so that would be like a two-read type of thing, so that it's clear, it's not buried in the finance
Right.
committee,
Yep.
but yet to have an initial discussion about it at the board, from the finance committee to the board on Monday, and then formally address it in a discussion item in April, and then may do some action to it.
And then when you do a district update,
Yep.
or have Steve put it in his Mustang memo,
Yep.
or
Yep.
something.
Because
just-
it'll be for both of them, it'll be for both buildings, because ultimately it will,
Yeah.
this actually changes the direction, and I think one of the questions is obviously we have currently approximately 25% of our current 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. Andrew, to your point then is do they now have the opportunity to jump into this technology fee
Yeah.
for the remaining for the remaining time at Merton Intermediate?
Yeah.
That will affect how many we buy, ultimately.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's where some
Yeah.
of those decisions, now, whether we buy, again, 25%, we're talking about an additional 75 devices. Obviously, we can gather them and we can get them. So instead of 100, we would buy 175.
Yeah.
Again, not something that isn't doable out there at all, but that's just another layer from a standpoint of is, do you want to begin that efficiency or offer the efficiency to current families over there?
Yeah, and I think transparency is gonna be key, and if we do the schedule, the calendar, how we just talked about, that also allows us time if we need to have a special meeting or a community
Oh, yeah.
forum
Yeah.
or
Yep.
a parent night, I mean, we can, that still gives us time to do that.
Correct, and through a community forum, there'd be a couple community forums that would be in there, or whatever it
Right.
might be too as well. The other piece, again, we are also recommending a $25 technology fee for Merton Primary, just to continue to be able to offer that and kind of help offset some of those costs as well, which is not uncommon for other districts, again, but it would be a change
Yep.
as well too, so.
So a couple things, so agree with all that communication, timeline and the process to which we should go on this. Jim, if you could work with April and Ron on the potential or the thought, the line of thought on having a warranty be included with that fee, what that would potentially change the fee to, I'd like to know the
Yep.
economics of that.
Okay.
And to Ron, to your point about like the 25%, and then, maybe opening them up. Again, just playing devil's advocate, if I'm a 6th grader, or let's say a 5th grader going into 6th grade, right, but I had a device that was a hand-me-down, that is old as can be, and we know potentially Arrowhead's making a change, right, to potentially having to acquire or do something different at the high school, that family might be looking at it and saying, man, it would be nice to only spend $40 the next couple of years versus like this old device that isn't gonna get them through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and I'm gonna have to buy one, and then you get to buy another one, so like, that's kind of my thought process on, real life scenario that folks might be dealing with.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, and we've always offered that, so if a child wanted to, like that 5th grader who had BYOD, all of a sudden the next year, they're like, hey, let's jump in,
We've always.
we've
allowed that.
always allowed that. They,
Yep.
they register it and things like that, so we just would kind of stay past practice but it would be with either the lease or purchase instead of the technology fee, per se too, because that's really the discussion, because if a child wants to jump in, we sell them the device.
I know, but I disagree. I think it should be streamlined with the technology fee.
You're just thinking straight technology fee
Yeah.
regardless.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, and for the 25% that aren't, I just don't see the hit outweighing the backlash that I
Sure.
think it needs, in my opinion, it needs to be streamlined, but we can
Okay,
discuss
those are the
it.
things, yeah, perfect, that's great thoughts, thank you for the time.
And Jim, I'll set up a time with you to come in sometime.
Yeah.
Like, really show me the differences, because I recognize what you're saying, and I'm not trying to
Yeah.
force something on you in a discussion here.
No, you're fine.
But, let's look at it, you and I together, so I can get a better visual of kind of what you're explaining to me.
When you
Absolutely.
guys set a date, will you shoot it to me, and if I can make it, I'll jump in?
No, not at all.
Okay, we'll have to,
Perfect.
yep,
Just
that'll be
give it.
fine. That'll be fine, just for some further information.
Okay. And maybe bring those devices, maybe not this meeting, but the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll see, just with the devices that, are purchased through us that the kids have, I'll, over the next couple weeks, if some come in that are kind of damaged, I'll at least take pictures of them. And so we can, I can show you what they
Yeah,
look like
just so
before
that
they
if
get
people
repaired.
are asking.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
happy to let anybody take a picture or bring Natalie's device, and you guys can all laugh at that too.
I think I got
I've seen it a
couple.
few times.
Sorry, somebody in the
Oh, yeah, no,
back.
it's fine. And then the only other thing I had for this group is, I currently have the copier RFP out there being looked at by some vendors. And that's supposed to be completed and turned into us by the end of this month. So I'll be putting that all together and bringing that the next time we meet as well.
For future agenda.
Yep,
April
April.
finance committee?
yep,
Okay.
yeah, I'll have everything ironed out with the vendors by then and hopefully have final numbers for everything we're looking for.
Because that lease is up June
Yes,
thirtieth,
June
they pull the
30th.
devices out,
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
Yeah.
and that's plenty of time for the transition.
yep.
perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Yeah.
take care.